Today's episode of The Mom Game, once again brought to you by our friends at Cowden Cosmetic Dentistry. As Texas continues to open back up, don't forget that Dr. Anna Cowden and her staff can now handle all of your dental needs, whatever they may be. Cowden Dentistry can even handle all of your cosmetic dental needs. Have you put off those exams or those cleanings? I know I did that for an embarrassing amount of time, so I was so glad to find Cowden Cosmetic Dentistry to help get me back on track. Book an appointment now, and for a limited time, new patients will receive a free Sonic toothbrush. Emily and I are both very much enjoying ours, and our husbands. Kelly loves his. He brought it to the bubble. It was that important to him. And no matter what procedure you need, your comfort, safety, and the safety of their staff will be their primary concern. They're taking all of the essential precautions to make sure that you're safe when you come visit their office. So call Cowden Cosmetic Dentistry today at 972-380-6223, or you can email them at info@cowdencosmeticdentistry.com. All right, now I'm going to bring in my co-host who is back with us on the Mom Game. I am so excited. Emily is here for episode number, what are we at? 23 now.
23. I'm back, kind of.
You're back,
so
kind of.
Still at the beach, having a little bit of guilt as far as not working is concerned. I mean, I worked opening day, and then it was like, see you guys in 12 days.
That's all right. It's a good long trip you're on.
Yeah, it is. We needed it. We needed it, and I've said to people, if you can get away, rent a house, get away, practice all the safeties that you're practicing at home, man, a change of scenery can really do you some good. So yeah, I will be back at it this weekend as far as work is concerned. And hopefully I'm going to go do a COVID test just to make sure everything's good. I'll get tested Friday morning, should have the results back, and then hopefully be back at work on Friday afternoon. But yeah, we're at the beach, and it's been a glorious, 9-10 days, and we've got a couple more to go. And
I'm so jealous.
It's great. I know. You almost feel bad. My husband went back. Mike went back, on Sunday, and the kids and I had stayed a few extra days. Like I said, this has been planned since January.
Yeah.
And we decided to go ahead and take it. And thankfully the Rangers were supportive of that. And so I've been watching the games and
real quick, you had a birthday. We can't let you get by without a big happy birthday on the Mom Game. Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.
I saw
43.
Yeah, a little something. 43.
43.
Awesome. Did you have a good birthday?
I had a great birthday.
Good.
I was listening to The Ticket actually on my headphones, and they were talking, mentioned it on Why Today Doesn't Suck, and they were like, oh, she's got her age hidden on Wikipedia or something. I'm like, I don't hide my age.
Yeah.
43 and damn proud of it.
Yeah. They're just idiots.
As a whole, yes.
Lovable idiots.
Right. So 43, I feel 42. So,
good.
Yeah,
not a day over 42.
Yeah.
Well, you don't look a day over 30. So.
Oh, please.
I mean it. Well, good. I'm glad that you've had that time to relax and spend some time with your family and get away from all of the craziness going on here.
How's solo parenting been?
It's been okay. My mom was here for the first week of it, so that helped a whole lot. And then last weekend, I actually met her in West at Slavacek's, and I handed off. Yes, I was handing off my child to her at Slavacek's. I handed off Ryder. We used to go to Rudy's in Waco whenever we did the handoff from Austin to Dallas because she's down in Austin. But they decided to come a little bit further my way, so he and I stopped at Cracker Barrel for a date in DeSoto, which was nice on Sunday. And then I met them, and she now has Ryder for the week. So right now it's just me and Anna at home, which is wonderful. I miss him a lot. Like I know I was complaining a lot about him, and now I feel bad, but I miss him a whole lot. But just to have that time with your youngest, you never get it. Because you have, I had 3 years essentially with Ryder by himself, and I've barely had any time with Anna, so we're having a lot of fun together. So everything's so far so good here. I need the Stars to start winning.
Yeah, sports are happening. We need our local teams to kind of kick it up a notch.
Seriously. Do they know how long we've all been waiting for this?
I know. And I think, obviously everyone's, I hate this phrase, everyone's in the same boat. All these teams are kind of in the, I think there's some of the time these guys are like, is this really happening? Is this what we're really doing? Like, what? This is,
Right. Like they got
so
kind of used to the concept of not playing, and then all of a sudden they're back, and then they're in bubbles, and
right. And then you've got outbreaks. In baseball, you've got outbreaks. Hockey and basketball are cruising along, COVID free.
Yeah.
Baseball shit's a little.
Have you been watching Rangers? Have you been following the Marlins situation? Tell me what it's like.
I'm following the situations, just because I'm curious to see how everything's going. Like I said, I was shocked we made it to opening day. I was shocked and, pleasantly surprised. And then, every week that we're now a week and a couple, week and a half almost in, and I'm still like, okay, maybe this thing has a chance.
Yeah.
And if you can avoid large outbreaks on multiple teams, you can, but it is still such a crazy day by day thing.
There was a point I was like, oh my gosh, baseball's going to end while Emily's on vacation.
Yeah. And I will have worked one game.
You will have waited this whole time and then worked one game. And then everything you said might happen will happen while you're gone. Because the Marlins situation, at that point, it was like, is baseball going to continue? How many people did they infect when 18 people within their organization all had it? But nope, they were just like, all right, well, let's ship them off back to Miami, call up some younger dudes, and just keep on rolling.
Yeah, we'll see how long this thing can roll. I feel like the wheels are a little bit loose. They might fall off soon, but every day that they play is a gift.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a gift.
I know that the Rangers are playing tonight, and they hadn't played since Sunday. And I was playing a lot of sound bites on the ticket where it's like mostly Joey Gallo, it seemed like, but just talking about like, we're just going to be sitting in our hotel rooms. Like they don't want to, I don't think there's a rule saying they absolutely cannot leave like there is in hockey. Or in basketball, but it sounds like they just don't want to leave their hotels.
And the team, I know our team has been very adamant about, we're taking this, that we're not just doing the bare minimum. We're going the extra mile. We're taking this thing very seriously. We don't want to have a situation, we're not going to pick up wings at a strip club. We're not going to go to casinos. We're not, none of that kind of stuff.
Right. You can suck it up for a few months and then hopefully you have the rest of your life to go do whatever.
For a weekend. So at some point, do you get fatigued by that? Does it become, and it's like I've said before, you don't have to be, people act like you have to be reckless to test positive, to contract this virus. You don't have to be reckless. That's why people were like, well, what was happening here? What happened? What did you do?
Did you take Henry to the club?
That's what I mean. Right. Did you go to a COVID party? Like, no, you don't have to be reckless to get this thing. I'm not saying that didn't happen with the Cardinals and the Marlins or whatever, but I'm just saying, once someone gets it, don't pretend like they were out at, licking other people's glasses and stuff. Like, come on. It's not,
they're not anyway. Rudy Gobert, like touching all the microphones.
Right.
It can happen. And I feel like I've been like riding a emotional wave of like how I feel about it all. Like I was feeling like, we're going to be really safe and we're going to go to school and we're doing baseball and we're doing this. But like just the last few days, I keep hearing about just more and more people that are younger or that are my age or your age and struggling with it. And it's just scary, your thoughts and emotions about it. I feel like for me, they change daily. But as of now, still sending the kids to school in September. And we're just going to hope for the best. I told you my son is with my mom right now. She called this morning and she's like, hey, Ryder, woke up with a cold. It's no big deal. We were swimming yesterday. I'm going to go get him some children's Tylenol. I think it's just from like jumping in the pool over and over and over. It like made his nose kind of stuffed up. And all day today, I've been like, oh my God, what if he has it and he's giving it to my mom right now? Like, I know he doesn't. Right. Kids get colds, but it's just so much anxiety.
So much anxiety. Off the chart anxiety.
I'm over it. Perhaps we could bring somebody on to the show this week that might be able to help us talk through all of this anxiety. I can't say that word. Do you know anybody that could join us, Em?
So I am super stoked about this week's guest. She is a friend of mine. She is the wife of Rangers manager Chris Woodward, and more importantly, she's my COVID Yoda. She is the woman who got me through the positive COVID test at our house, has walked me through, calmed me down on things, walked me through things, and Erin Woodward, we're so excited to welcome you to the Mom Game. So grateful for how sweet you were to me when Henry had his positive test at our house. You are also an ICU nurse or emergency room nurse. And so you have seen this virus up close and personal. So now that we are 5 months into things, you're in Arizona, which is another one of the hotbeds in addition to, a number of others around the country. Now that we're 5 months into this thing, I guess, what are your big picture takeaways from this virus?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I would say I'm fortunate enough to see it in the ER and in ICU. I don't think it's probably not the right word. But thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited. I'm pretty passionate about COVID and getting good information out there. So I love taking that opportunity to do that. So thank you for that. In the ER, obviously we see patients that we are going to send home so that are not as sick with COVID. And then we also see the ones that we're going to admit to the hospital and to the ICU. So I kind of get to see the spectrum. And, we've learned so much about it in the last 5 months, and we're learning new information every day. And I'm super relentless with research. So my kids just see me, with my earbuds in all day long, listening to podcasts and listening to, YouTube videos of other physicians around the country and around the world talking about their research, talking about their data, talking about their findings. And there's so much good information out there. There's also a lot of bad information out there, which is unfortunate. But there's been so much progress made. What I have learned in the last 5 months is, number one, it really seems to be indiscriminate. We're seeing some correlations between certain comorbidities. So if you're overweight, if you have heart disease and you're diabetic, you have other, pre-existing health conditions, it's definitely going to hit you harder. But we're also seeing those unicorns, or zebras, as we call them in medicine. When you hear hoofbeats, you think horses. Well, in medicine, we think zebras. That's what we're looking for, because we want to make sure we don't miss the zebra. So we see some zebras where the people that we don't really think should be very sick with it are sick with it. And we can't, we're trying to figure out why. So it definitely seems to be indiscriminate. We're learning a lot more about why people are getting a positive test and then seemingly recovered and then testing positive again. So we're learning a lot more about how long you may have immunity to it if you get sick, who gets immunity, why they're getting immunity, how long it might last, what things might be misleading. And there's been incredible data over the last week or so, with a new company out of San Francisco, a really small company that has an incredible new treatment potentially that'll be available early next year. So tons of promising things, lots of good data, so much good science, and lots of good research. Everybody's focused on this thing. So it's, for people like us in healthcare, it's exciting because we're going to have really good quality treatments to treat people and get people back to normal. So it's the first signs of optimism that we've seen, since this thing started. So yay. We're going to win the war.
Yeah. Erin, I'm Julie, by the way. It's so nice to have you on to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. While we're on this topic, we'll just stay on this topic because there's so much to talk about right now with this whole COVID pandemic, just the disaster that we're seeing right now in front of our eyes. For you, what is this like being on the front lines? I mean, it has to be like a mix of adrenaline. It has to be kind of not exciting, but you're out there fighting this global pandemic, something we've never seen before. And how are you just handling all the emotions of it? It has to be scary as well.
So, I have to say my first few shifts back, when I really didn't know what to expect, and were really eye-opening for me. They were scary. I really didn't expect to see as many young people as I did in the ICU. I saw a lot of young people younger than me. I'll be 45 this month, actually. It's my birthday month.
Happy birthday month.
So, yeah. I saw a lot of people younger than me. I did not expect that. And as we progressed, I actually saw fewer older people because they were staying home. They really got the message and they said, we're not going anywhere. And so I started to see a lot more young people in the ICU, and lots of different, healthy young people too. And lots of healthy people on the floor, not in the ICU, but just admitted to the other floors in the hospital. So the first few shifts, I was really nervous. Of course, you think, oh, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it for sure. I talked to a lot of my coworkers. Some of my coworkers had gotten it and gotten over it, but the majority of my coworkers in the ICU have been okay. So that gave me some measure of comfort. And of course, one of my first patients in the ICU was not intubated. That means when they're attached to the ventilator. When they're attached to the ventilator, that system is closed. So the risk of transmission is a little bit less. So my first patient was not intubated and she was coughing everywhere.
Oh,
and so I was, Hail Marys when I came out and cleaning everything and following all the protocol and, praise God, I've been all right. So
yeah,
I hope I'll continue to be all right. Because we need everybody to keep fighting this. So.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing I feel like for me has been like, and obviously as parents, as mothers, you have decisions to make and all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
And I think, and they're all tough decisions, right? Like just in life in general. But then you throw a global pandemic into this thing and you're like, what in the hell am I actually doing? I am responsible for these 2 living, breathing human beings. They're counting on me to make the right decisions. And you sent me a video, not too long ago, I think it was earlier this week, about going back to school. What's the right thing? How are you weighing all these things as a healthcare professional, as someone who has educated themselves greatly on this subject, and balancing that with making decisions for your 3 children?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I sent that video out. It was a random pediatrician from New York, I think. And I really appreciated what she said, because she basically said, whatever decision you make is the right one for your child, for your family. And I really appreciated that. I thought that's amazing advice, because you've got to feel good about what you're doing. You've got to feel confident. You've got to feel good about the decision that you're making for your family. And so I thought that was really common sense advice. If it feels right for you and it feels good for your family to keep everyone home and homeschool them, then that's what you should do. If you feel like your child really needs socialization and you can weigh the risks and benefits, that's what we do in medicine. So we weigh the risk and benefit of giving you a treatment. Not every treatment is without, most treatments have risk associated with them. So we have to weigh the cost and, cost benefit analysis of giving you that treatment. So the same thing applies really to every choice and decision that you make. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was important to kind of share that with my friends. For me, I manage Grady's baseball team. So Chris is not the only manager in the house. I manage his baseball. Since since he started kindergarten, since he started really playing baseball. So we're playing baseball. We're out there with masks. We have hand sanitizer. We are, taking every precaution that we can while still allowing them to play baseball and see their friends and do what they want to do. I'm keeping one of my kids home, and he's going to do homeschool or online school. That's the one who's playing baseball, because he's got that social outlet. Mainly because I don't trust him to not pick his nose and eat it. So I'm like, you can't be trusted to not wash your hands and wear a mask. So I figure he's more of a liability to the teachers because he just is a dirty little boy. So my middle schooler, he's a lot more responsible and he needs that social interaction. He really needs it. He hasn't seen many kids his age for months. So it's really important for me to let him go to school. So he's going to do blended. He'll do a couple classes home and he'll do a couple classes on campus. And I was really grateful we had that opportunity. So I feel like, once again, because I've been in the ICU and I know how to put on personal protective equipment, I know how to, keep my family safe. I know how to tell them how to wash their hands and how frequently. And I've ingrained in them how, touch a door handle, you gotta wash your hands. I feel comfortable teaching my kids to kind of go out and do those things. And I also feel comfortable coaching baseball and making sure I can watch and monitor the kids. Is there no risk? Absolutely not. There's going to be a risk in whatever you do. But we have to find a way to maintain our sanity and our mental health while keeping our community and the people around us safe. It's a balance. You got to figure it out.
Yeah. I think it sounds like we're all kind of on the same page with that. I know I have a 5-year-old boy. He just finished a shortened baseball season and it was the most exciting thing we've done in 4 months. It made a huge difference for us. My one question for you is, if you had a 5-year-old, how would you convince him to wear a mask? And also just what are you seeing as far as transmission within children, from kid to kid? What are you reading about that? I know there's so many different things out there when it comes to kids spreading this disease.
Well, the official position, and I mean, I'm just going to use science, and that's not even my position. I'm going to take like CDC and everything that we're hearing and reading. And I actually do pediatric ED as well. I have not worked pediatric ED or trauma during this pandemic. I've been mostly adults. In fact, we have taken over the pediatric floors at our hospital because we've needed them for the adults.
Wow.
So we're not seeing. The official position is under 10 years old, the risk of transmission and they seem to be doing really well with it, and they're not really spreading it, and they're not really picking it up as easily. Over 10, as you get closer and closer to 18, your risk increases of picking it up and transmitting it and being able to spread it. So, there's definitely the reports and cases of that multi-system inflammatory syndrome that we see. We see that in another illness that's very similar, and it probably going forward, they're going to find out it's basically the same thing, but we call it Kawasaki's disease. And I see that probably 3 times a year with kids when I work. So it's not common at all, but it typically is post-viral. So you would imagine with a new virus that our immune systems have never seen, you're going to see that Kawasaki's / multi-system inflammatory more often, because this is viruses that kids have never seen. Luckily, it's rare. It's not common. The cases are isolated. I think that, I know they make a lot of really cute masks. I ordered some really cute ones, like my son wore it today. We had to go get warts removed off his dirty hands. He's gonna hate me for saying that. There you go. So I figured those are just as contagious as COVID. No, I'm kidding. But he has like a little raccoon mask. It was like a cute little mask. And so he wore it out, and everyone was like, "Oh, I like your mask. I like your mask." So he felt good about wearing it. So, I would think the way that I get my kids to comply, if you have a mask and you let him draw on it, maybe he can draw on it. So it can be like his own little art that he's wearing on his face.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
To wear it.
Yeah. Would a superhero mask be sufficient? That's my other question.
Absolutely.
Like if he's got his Batman mask on, that does the job, right? I don't know.
There you
go to school
exactly.
with that.
100%. I would 100% let him do that. Yeah, for sure. And again, I feel like the younger they are, the risk is definitely lower for sure.
Yeah.
It's us that we need to worry about.
Right. Exactly.
So Erin, what has it been like for you, switching a little bit to sports? What's it been like for you to watch this season unfold, not being able to be with Chris?
Honestly, battling COVID has been easier than watching this season. Can I say that? Can I actually say that?
I know.
I think everyone will appreciate that right now.
I know.
It's been, some days I'm like, well, I'm really glad I'm at work because I'll be watching the game on my phone. I'll be like, you know what? I'm just going to go in there and code this patient because I feel like, no, that's terrible. No, it's the start's been weird, right? Like baseball just in general has been weird. Teams that are, people maybe didn't think we're going to do as well are doing really well. And it's, nothing is normal. We're all in the upside down, right? So yeah, it's been rough, mainly because I know, when you have personal attachments to the team, Emily, as you know these guys personally, you know their heart, you know their families, you know their life, and they, when you see fans are like, it looks like they don't want to be out there or they don't care. It just like, it stabs you in the heart because you know how deeply these guys care. They care so much. And, not everybody's going to break down sobbing at the plate when they strike out, even though that's what they're feeling like inside.
Sure.
So yeah, it's been rough. And to be quite honest, Chris is a really stoic guy. He's a real even keel. I'm definitely like the yang to his yin, whatever that means. I don't know, but I'm the excitable one. And he's definitely been like, it's been a grind. Like the guys were feeling really, really good and they were really ready to go. They had a really good summer camp. So to not start off and play the way that they felt like they were going to play, I think it was really hard on everyone. Like it took a big toll on everyone. So today, like lots of optimism in the last few days, optimism with COVID, optimism with the Rangers. They're feeling really good about their place right now. Everybody's kind of feeling reinvigorated and they've got a big run of games now ready to go. And I think they feel like pretty stoked and they're ready to unleash. So I'm ready to watch it and see. Yeah. I ordered a case of wine, Emily, so I'm good. I'm ready.
I know. We all need it.
Erin, my husband is on the coaching staff for the Dallas Stars, so I can relate to a lot of the things that you're saying. So I'm just wondering, because I know for us, when the hockey season went on pause in March and just stopped, and then we had 4 months of nothing, just waiting and watching this pandemic unfold and trying to figure out what was going to happen. What was that time like for you when Chris didn't know when he was going to get to go back to work? I know there was so much anticipation probably when spring training did begin back a long time ago. What was it like just kind of watching all of the news, and what were both your whole family's emotions, as I'm sure you want them to get back to work?
Right. You want and get things back to normal. Well, first and foremost, I have to say that fun fact, I'm Canadian. So hockey is my actual religion. That's what
my husband's Canadian as well, as you could probably guess. He's from Vancouver Island.
Okay. I've got cousins and family that live there. I'm from Toronto originally. So hockey is my actual religion.
Oh, good. Well, come out to a Stars game anytime.
What's that?
I said, come on out to a Stars game anytime. We'll get you guys some tickets.
Once we
have them again.
For sure. Love hockey. So sit at home. It was such a weird thing. And of course, you don't really know what other teams are doing. I can honestly tell you that the Rangers worked their butts off. I mean, Chris was on 20 Zoom calls a day. They worked so much that I was like, if you don't take your foot off the gas, you're going to go into the season like already burned out. Like, honestly, they were really getting after it, and grinding it out, trying to, iron out all the logistics. And I think that it shows in as much as their policies and their protocols of like guys not testing positive and being really careful about that. All the work that they put in, the pre-gaming that they put in really helped a lot, because they've got some really good code of conduct and policies and keeping guys safe. And it's really important getting everybody on the same page, like incredible fluid communication, even though they couldn't meet in person. So it was a testament to just a whole new way to do things. And I thought they did a really good job. It was so amazing to have the family time. I felt almost guilty. I felt very guilty because I know that a lot of people were, as much as, we were feeling uncertain about the season starting. And of course there's some financial uncertainty about that. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? We were certainly, faring a lot better than a lot of other people. So we were really, you feel really blessed to have the family time and be able to spend time like that, which we've never gotten in 20 years. But also feeling like knowing that all our needs were met and having friends who were losing their jobs or closing down their businesses. We kind of were really trying to underpin our own community by helping people out and, making sure that if we knew about somebody who needed something, that we'd be able to get people on board and help out and do stuff. So it was a weird time, like really enjoying the family time, but also being very aware of all of the things going on around us, keeping our fingers on the pulse of that.
Exactly.
So that was unusual.
Yeah.
So Erin, this is Woody's second year with the team, his second year as a manager. If you, in baseball terms, as a player, he was a grinder. I mean, he was a guy that he grinded out, a lengthy career, wasn't ever really a big star, but one of those guys, you hear the stories about the conversations that he would have with teammates and how it was all kind of leading up to where managing was going to be his jam. Yeah. And so he got this opportunity, and now you go from being, the wife of the third base coach or a position, or, a coach on the staff, or a wife of a player, to now the wife of a manager. And now you're, also too, which a lot of people don't realize is in sports, it's professional sports, especially, it's such a big deal. That fraternity, that sorority or whatever fraternity of wives, that's a strong thing for you guys. It's so important. And Julie can attest to it too, because they are gone so much. And so raising babies together and kids and all that kind of stuff is such a big deal. And I know it's something that you take, very personally as kind of the leader of that group. What has that just transition been like for you from him becoming, the third base coach to the man?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Well, it's so funny because Chris and I were actually having this conversation last night over a glass of Scout and Cellar wine.
Cheers.
We were on the phone. I was on the phone in my backyard, and because it's the only time you can go out in Arizona is when the moon is out. So I was getting a moon tan. No. So we were actually talking about that. Oddly enough, we were talking about how difficult it is for big stars to transition to the end of their career, their playing career, and how that was something as a manager he really had to take into account. So guys that are coming to the end or getting close to retirement, your veterans, how they have to be handled differently than maybe your younger guys. And so that led us sort of to talk about his career. And I said, it's amazing when you can retire on your own terms as a player, when you can retire and you can kind of go out like Derek Jeter or Wayne Gretzky, like everybody wants to go out like that, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just a reality for a lot of guys. And, the career really has an arc where you're good and then your skills aren't as good and younger blood comes in and takes over. So we were talking about, and he goes, yeah, we're scratching our heads. We're like, man, you played almost 12 years in the big leagues, but every year was like a grind. Every year was like okay, I got to work hard. Can't lose my job. So it wasn't something, that you could look back. You had to look back after the fact and be like, oh yeah, we really did accomplish all that in that time. Toward the end of his career, his most satisfying years were actually not even in the big leagues per se. Well, they were, but when he was finishing his career in AAA and he was leading and mentoring all of these kids that are playing now, and Jesse Chavez, he played with Jesse Chavez. So now he manages him, and Jesse Chavez coined a moniker for him. He nicknamed him Pro because he said he was a pro in everything he did. And that's a big compliment from Jesse, if you know Jesse, because he doesn't give those out very often. So just being able to lead, and we talked about leaving a legacy, and we talked about, like, again, those guys that are able to retire on their own terms and leave the legacy exactly how they want to. That's pretty cool. And again, not everybody gets a chance to do that. You retire quietly because you can't get a job anymore or whatever. And that's so what kind of legacy did you leave? Your stat line is just something that someone else is going to come along and beat. So the legacy that you leave is how you treated people and how they looked up to you and what guidance you were able to give them. So that, his ability to do that in those last few years of his career, but especially the last two, and then that natural segue into coaching. For me, there was a transition when I became a coach's wife, because you want to lead and you want to be available and you want to give guidance and love and support, but you're not a player's wife. And so you want to make sure that you're not overstepping your boundaries. There's things that they should do on their own and that you can kind of lead and include. And so it was a bit of a learning curve there, just wanting to make sure I was never infringing, but always just being loving and supporting. And I found a really good niche really quickly to do that. So that was awesome. And then transitioning to a manager's wife, my big thing was, and I really wanted to convey that to all the girls, and I hope I've done that. I hope I've done a good job, is that I'm there to support no matter what. We build a relationship, a friendship, and it has nothing to do with what happens on the field or who's playing or who's not playing. God bless, but in the 20 years of doing baseball, I've been through and I've encountered every situation you can imagine. My husband's been released on family day. He's been released on my kids' birthdays from teams. We've been sent down when I was going to labor, like all kinds of stuff, so I've been through a lot of these, most of the things, and probably more than they're going to go through. My father passed away while we were in the middle of the season, things like that. So I hope I can relate those experiences and be able to provide support to them, because you move to a new city, you're trying to, raise kids there, and your kids are you're like gypsies and nomads, and you're constantly in the state of moving, and you really need that sisterhood, and you need someone that understands it, because no one really understands it like you understand it. So that was my thing. Just be there and be supportive. I love to get them out in the community and make sure that everybody on the team, all of their voices are represented. The diversity of our team is represented, so that we're doing, charitable things within the Latin community, that we're doing them for supporting social justice, so that everybody has a voice and a platform, So, and, this year's been weird because we can't get together.
Right.
So. You're right.
I was going to ask, are you, like last season, were you in Texas, and what are your thoughts on balancing Arizona and Texas? How do you do it?
Well, we had planned to move. The plan was we were going to be in Texas. We looked at a couple of houses. We put a couple of offers in on houses in Dallas, and it didn't work out. And then COVID kind of got a little bit nuts. So we kind of abandoned ship on that. We were like, you know what, maybe we're just going to stay here we got to plant roots somewhere. We've got to formalize something. So we're going to be in Texas eventually, where it's going to happen. It was supposed to happen this year, and COVID kind of put a wrench in that as well. So our plans will be there eventually. They were supposed to be this year.
Right. It's a weird time to be moving.
Exactly, pending. So we'll hang out here and ride this thing out a little bit longer, and then we'll transition full time.
And if I can squeeze in one more question, just after that long ride that you talked about and being there by Chris's side through so much as a player and then getting into coaching, what was it like for you and for him and just for your family in general to kind of have this dream realized with the Texas Rangers?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know if I can put it into words. It was, I think when you feel as passionate as Chris does, he's got a fully realized philosophy, and he knows how he wants a team to how he wants to lead a team, and the kind of staff that he has, and what he's been able to put together. And just to see him realize that dream and live that out and live out that philosophy, there's a range of emotions. There's obviously, you feel there's some nerves there. There's some anxiety because you want it to go well, and you want him to be able to, you believe in him, and you believe in his dream and his passion, and you want it to work out. You want it to,
Yeah.
So those things, those are real emotions, of course. And I think I probably don't know any other way to live, because Chris was never comfortable as a baseball player ever. It was always grinding every year, trying to keep a job. So that's the emotion for me that baseball always pulls up. Every season, I pull up that emotion, like everything is tied to productivity and how we're doing. So I'm learning how to let go of that. Really appreciate the destiny and the path that's going to unfold.
Yes.
Because it's really not tied to his production anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
that's the hardest part of marrying a coach. It's like they're out there trying as hard as they possibly can, but it's up to these kids to perform as well.
Certainly.
And it affects our lives and their moods.
And then your children, you know what I mean? So I find myself, I'm like, oh, it's a good thing I'm not I don't have a mysterious Twitter handle or anything. Because when they say bad things about my players, I want to punch them. My children, right? Emily, you feel that way.
Oh my gosh, girl, you don't even want to know how many fights I've gotten into.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've started to type and then I was like, no, you know what? I can't do that.
I know. But you know what? That's also the beauty of it. Look, right?
Yeah.
Like that, if I'm that emotionally invested in something or someone that I want nothing more than for them to succeed. And because like you said, them, and to me, it's like your heart breaks with them and you're so emotionally invested in it, but you're like, that's the beautiful thing about it. That means I care about this dude so
Absolutely.
much.
Yeah.
I just want him to do well. I just want him to succeed. I want him to be in a good space, all that kind of stuff. So, well, I will say, Erin, you were so gracious to join us. I've loved getting to know Woody. His candor is off the charts. I love it. Like we talk to him before every game, and he's honest. He's not afraid to, question himself, question previous decisions that he's made. He's not ever one of those guys that's like, oh yeah, well, I'm the boss and this is the way it goes. And, second guessing things or making excuses for things. And that, from my perspective, as someone who deals with the team so much, his ability to be honest and shoot you straight and not bullshit around is so refreshing. And it's a joy to be around him. And it's been so lovely to get to know you and your family, your precious kids,
we call it
picking their boogers.
Yeah, we call it radical transparency.
Yes,
right.
I'm in.
Radical transparency. Yeah.
I'm totally in on all that. So it's been awesome to get to know you guys. I love y'all dearly. I cannot thank you enough for being my COVID Yoda. I don't know how we would have made it through that time.
I'm so glad that your journey with COVID was a brief one and just a gentle brush. So that was awesome. But I have to really quickly say too, thank you to everyone in Texas. I should have said this at the very beginning, and I want to say this as often as possible. Everyone in Texas has been absolutely the most warm, wonderful. They really do have the most beautiful, wonderful, loyal fans and just wonderful, beautiful people. I cannot be more grateful. I'm so grateful. I get emotional thinking about how humbled I am about this beautiful reception that we've had. So we're really, really grateful for that. Super grateful.
I know everybody's so glad.
We love y'all.
Your whole family is a part of the Rangers organization. You've been a delight, Erin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Love y'all. Sweet girl.
Take care. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye.